so,
Yes.
I know
No.
some goes in there.
We're using fingers.
Oh,
Bigger
here,
fingers.
Okay, and so I'll call it to order. My name is Doug Case. I am the outgoing chair of the City of San Diego Commission on Fish Practices, and this is the Executive Committee meeting of June 25th, 2025. We sent out the minutes of the last two Executive Committee meetings, and they were attached. I guess we're supposed to roll.
Okay. Okay, Chair Doug Case.
Here.
Thank you. First Vice Chair Ada Rodriguez.
Here.
Sorry, they changed the format of this. Second Vice Chair Clovis Honoré.
Here.
Thank you. Then we have Commissioner Byer,
Here.
Commissioner Benitez.
Here.
Thank you. Commissioner Flores is excused. Commissioner Mona is excused, and Commissioner Robinson is on her way.
Hopefully, yeah. I didn't hear back more.
Oh, hopefully.
Okay. Now we can have the approval of the minutes. Are there any corrections or changes or additions to any of the minutes? These would be for April 30th and May 28th. Seeing none, is there a motion to approve as distributed? Second, discussion. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Do we have any non-agenda public comment?
We don't have any anyone attending in person or in virtually either.
Okay. If you could let me know if anybody joins, otherwise I won't call for public comment if nobody's here. As I mentioned, we had our bi-monthly meeting with the chief this morning. It was delayed. We normally meet in May. So I assume we'll still keep on schedule and meet next month. I can just go over the agenda real briefly. Half of us were there. But we introduced our new officers. They agreed to have CPP flyers available at the headquarters and at the substations. So once we get those done, we'll need to provide those, and then probably need to have somebody go by periodically to replenish them. And we probably need to get our own pamphlet or stands. We talked about some of the missing things from our case files recently, including medical examiner reports and professional standards in the reports. That also led into a discussion of some of the issues they have with not being in charge of the investigations. I'll get in a second. With the sheriff's department doing it, they don't have control over what we get, and they're kind of at the mercy of the sheriff's department and what the sheriff's department provides. Yes.
Who was at the meeting on behalf of SCPD?
What? It's the chief, the deputy chief, Lindsay.
Who is Lindsay? Can you, I'm trying to get these names in my, I know Julie.
Lindsay is the person that was over on that side. She
Who
is.
walked us down?
Yeah, she's
The
the.
public
Yes,
or
yes.
community relations or.
Right.
Liaison.
Liaison.
And
who was sitting next to her between Julie Everson and?
Tina Williamson, she's assistant chief.
yeah, she's assistant chief. And then the lieutenants from internal affairs and the captain from internal affairs. And there was somebody else.
Two lieutenants.
There were two lieutenants from internal affairs, the captain from internal affairs.
That's Julie Everson.
Right.
Yes.
Rudy Ty, I don't know what his.
Well, yeah, Rudy's an assistant chief.
Assistant
No,
chief,
Rudy's
yeah.
a deputy chief.
Deputy chief, right.
And so,
I think that's it.
and that's
Yeah.
normally who attends those.
Who are the lieutenants from IA?
Both of them. I forget the new lieutenant's name, the female one.
The male is
Carmelin Rivera? Carmelin Rivera?
Yeah.
I know him.
That doesn't sound
How do you know?
He's the one who threw me out of their office.
Yeah, we'll move on. And then we talked about some of our frustrations with the timeliness of investigations, and I mentioned, I guess it's just good news to Alex, because both of us were there. I learned the last week that the investigation on the vehicle pursuit that involved the killing for death of the two boys. They completed the investigation, but their deadline was 4 days after she called me. And the 1 year deadline is not until a couple of days after our meeting. So we will still have time to review it. The challenge is that if we were to disagree with any of their findings, they would not be able to change any of their findings. We could still register our disagreement, but it had gone beyond the point where they could change a finding, especially a sustained finding. And we expressed that it was important for us to be able to complete our investigations in time, or our recommend findings in time, so that if we had a recommendation of them, that they had time to consider it. And in this case, they'll be able to receive it, but they won't be able to act on it. And we expressed frustration with that. But then, as you know, there were 2 officer-involved shootings cases at our last meeting that were beyond the 1 year deadline.
Question, so does the PD wait for us to finish our review for them to send the letter of their complaint investigation report?
Yes. We talked about the vehicle, the recommendations regarding the vehicle pursuit policies, and they talked about some of the things that are implemented on the data side. And we got into a lengthy discussion of the vehicle pursuit review board that we recommended and what it would be and whether there would be any civilians on it and so forth. And I won't get into that other than we explained that we saw it as an opportunity for them to do a global review of their policies and opportunity to, much like the shooting review board, to look to see whether things could be done better and whether there's any policy changes and so forth. The chief expressed a reluctance to include any civilians because it would make it difficult to get it approved by the meeting confer process. We didn't totally rule it out, but I kind of got the impression from the discussion that was unlikely that would be the direction we were going to go. I talked previously about the shooting review board reports. It was interesting. I mentioned at our last meeting, at our last commission meeting, that I had just discovered that there was a document called the Internal Affairs Operation Manual, which I learned about from Jerry Treat's report because he made reference to it, and I Googled it and found it. I wish I had seen it a long time ago, because it goes into great detail about all of IA's operations and how to classify things and so forth. Is that online yet?
Sorry?
The IA operation manual?
We talked about it last week's meeting.
Oh, you mean on the Google Drive?
Yeah.
No, but
If you could put it there, and maybe make it its own folder, and I think that would be a good thing for all commissioners to be aware of. So I was reading through it, and I saw that it said in the manual that they're supposed to forward to us the shooting review board report after it's completed, which they had stopped doing. And so I contacted Captain Epperson, sorry, and said, this is what your policy is. How come you're not following your own policy? Because previously they told us it should be wait until a meeting confer, but their policies have all gone through a meeting confer. She emailed me and said that we were right and asked when the last time we got a report was, which was before permanent CPP was seated. So my recommendation, and we'll give this unless somebody disagrees, is to ask for shooting review board reports of all of the cases that the new CPP has reviewed. I don't know how many of those there are, because usually those follow for a while after the course, but there should be some. And so hopefully we're gonna start seeing shooting review board reports. We don't vote on those, we do have a chance to review them and to ask questions.
From your experience, having seen them before, is that reviewing the shooting review board reports, is that something that should fall to the commission itself, or do we want to again bring somebody like Jerry Freed back in to review all of those and give us a synopsis of it?
I would say, the way we did it previously was we asked the team that reviewed that case to review the shooting review board. And so I think, I would not say we need something external than that at this point in time, but we could in the future. And shooting review board reports look at tactics and training issues. So sometimes a shooting could be within policy and could not have been a good shooting, you know. It may be a legal shooting within policy, but it could have been avoided. And that's a tactical issue, and that's what they should be talking about in shooting review board reports.
Doug, on the suggestion you made about having that review team re-review the shooting review board, if those go back far enough, that'll be before certain staff are on. And there will be a number of commissioners who review those who are no longer with us.
Right.
So we may actually have reports that were reviewed by.
Yeah, well, that was an issue that we ran in with the CRB, and we'd assign somebody to do it. So I'll let the new sheriff decide how to go about doing that. But you could assign a new team to review it. And just keeping in mind, we don't vote on those; we just present it. We talked about various presentations we were going to be asking the PD to do. We'd asked them to do the My 90, which is their communications feedback program, and then at the last, not the June, but the May CPP meeting, when they announced the encrypted communications, people wanted to have a report on that, and they indicated they'd actually be able to combine those and do those at our next meeting. There's some other ones that we're interested in is their investigation system, and I suggested maybe they give us an overview of the IA operations manual, and also their discipline procedures, because once the meet and confer are approved, we will have the ability to not only review discipline, but to make recommendations on discipline. So we need to be up to speed on the policies regarding discipline. And we also mentioned we're going to be getting new commissioners on July the 1st. And I think that we will be able, the city council will be appointing up to 6. We got an email today from one of them who withdrew because he may have a conflict of interest because his firm does business with PD. And I don't know whether he was an at-large or one of the, so I don't know whether or not that is going to give us one vacancy down. By the way, that's going to occur next Tuesday at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and Ada and Bonnie, not Benita, Bonnie, will hopefully be reappointed. If not, we're in trouble. and they will be there to welcome the new commissioners. We don't know
in the afternoon, right?
Afternoon, 2 o'clock.
Yeah, in that email exchange, it said it was in the morning.
Yeah, that's
But I
for
remember you
reappointment.
saying,
You know what, I'll have to review that again, because I think they might have actually broken it up,
uh-huh,
so that the
So like the consent
reappointments are
agenda-
in the morning one.
Yeah, I got an
Consent.
email about
And then
reappointment.
new
Yeah.
appointments is at the 2 o'clock afternoon.
Okay. If you
okay,
could,
if you could confirm, because I'll
Okay.
try to be there in the afternoon, but I think the morning one I'm gonna do on Zoom.
Okay,
and Ada, if they did break them up, can you make both?
I'm not making vote.
You don't have to be there to be reappointed.
Yeah, I'm not
You know,
gonna
the-
vote for reappointment.
the agendas are up.
Oh, they are?
Yeah,
Okay, then you can go online and see who the people are and their bios and so forth. And so if you click on the, go to the city council agendas, everybody know where to find that. Just go to san diego.gov, click on City Hall, Back on agendas,
The
and then
new appointment is number 303, item 303.
And so you can see who was nominated for each of the positions, and they have their resume there and some other background materials. And so good to know that. I'll take a look at those. And
This is July 2nd, right?
July 1st.
July 1st.
And which is good because the outgoing terms actually end on July 1st. So it's good they're reappointing them on the 1st. And finally, we mentioned that because we have two commissioners as part of our onboarding, we'd like for the department to do their normal tour and orientation to internal affairs, and to have the opportunity to meet with the chief and basically meet with the people we met with this morning. And they indicated they're happy to do that. Only other thing I have on the chair report is that at the last meeting, we decided to ask committee chairs to submit their reports in writing to expedite the meetings. I forgot to remind the committee chairs, and the only one who took the initiative to send hers in was Amani, who's not here. But if we can.
Darlene got hers in too.
Oh, Darlene, okay. So if they can get kudos, and next time they have their promotion evaluation, you can consider that. My thought is if people can, we have to get the agendas posted on Friday before the meeting. And so if the committee chairs can send a copy of their report to Alina with a copy to Ada, but no later than noon on the Friday before the meeting, then we can include them as an attachment. Then we can also include those same reports as an attachment to the CPP business meeting the following Wednesday. Now, if your committee has business between those two meetings, like I know the policy committee meeting is meeting tomorrow, and so Amani may have some new information. You can update it, and again, the deadline would be the Friday before the meeting. But if we can start getting written committee reports for both the business meeting and the executive committee meeting, that should expedite. Okay. Did you think to report?
Yeah, I wanted to just, I spoke with, I brought this up once before. I have a colleague, Art Castaneras, who is the owner of La Prensa, and he brought a lawsuit against Chula Vista Police Department and their drone policy. And that's been ongoing in litigation for about 4 years. He finally went up to the appellate court, back down to the trial court, and they've won at the trial court against Chula Vista PD. And the issue is this, that Chula Vista PD, when they send their drones out, first of all, they don't have a policy about this, but when they send their drones out, the drones start videotaping right away. So it flies over people's backyards and things like that. And they requested, a Public Records Act request, to get some of the footage, and they refused, saying it's an investigative privileged footage. And they were doing things like sending, they had a freeway fire, so they sent the drone out to kind of check it out and looked at it, and there was nothing much there, and came back. Well, they refused to turn that over. Anyways, they refused to turn over about 30 videotapes that seemed to me were clearly public records, and they litigated it for 4 years, and they finally won, and the court ordered the Chula Vista Police Department to turn over 18 of the requested videos. And so they're going to have to change their policy. The Chula Vista Police Department spent a couple $1 million litigating, defending it, and they're also going to have to now pay for Art Castaneras' attorney's fees under the Public Records Act litigation point. So my point is, Art called me today and said, hey, I'm getting First Amendment recognition from the local journalist here in town. He's getting called all over the country to talk about it because these drone programs are so new that there's not any real stability or policies on theirs. And he's offered to come present to the commission. I said, hey, would you mind presenting to the commission? It might be something they'd be interested to look at. So I wanted to bring that up.
Does the PD use drones?
Yes. Yeah. And so I thought it would be a good thing. He can spot some of the issues and tell you some of the problems and some of the reasons why he thought it was important to have the litigation and some areas of policy that we might want to consider. So I would throw that out to this committee to maybe put it on the agenda or bring it up before
What do
council.
people think?
Should it be for the full commission or the policy committee?
Full commission.
I think,
They leave it to
I mean, he
15
wants to give it to the full commission. And he's-
I'd say the full commission, and then if the policy committee wants to pursue something, they can.
Contact him, okay, yeah.
And we have several things kind of on our agenda, so probably
the next one.
it won't be right away, but
Okay,
okay, anything
Good.
else?
no, that was it.
Okay,
Sorry, and who is this?
His name is Art Castaneras, and he's the owner of La Prensa paper.
Thank you.
okay, and then as we talked about previously, we asked Bart to do a brief workshop at our next meeting to look at the conflict of interest policy, particularly as it relates to recusal. And I asked him to look at some specific issues, such as how close of a relationship you have to have with somebody before you would be expected to recuse yourself. If you witness something, does that preclude you from reviewing the case or recusing yourself? So if you were at a protest and there was a scuffle and the police responded and you were in the crowd and you saw it happen, does that mean you have to recuse yourself? I'm not going to give answers here, these are some examples. And then if you assist a community member in filing a report, does that require you to recuse yourself? And so I gave him some examples of situations that some of which may be gray, and asked him to present them and get feedback from the commission. And then part of the goal is to refine our conflict of interest policy so people have a better indication of when they are required to recuse themselves. Anything you want to say?
Yeah, so Aaron and I have been working on it, the policy manager here in the office. My computer crashed right before I came here, so I couldn't access my documents. So Aaron is prepared to give a brief update on kind of where we're at. So Aaron, take over.
I'm here. Can you hear me? Okay. Yeah, so Bart and I kind of been workshopping this. I did some preliminary research, and it seems like we'd kind of be like the leaders on developing an internal policy that protects the integrity of the process of the CPP, doing case reviews, and reduces the appearance of conflicts of interest. So we wanted to codify a process that would let commissioners know what to expect. And so we created 3 drafts of 3 different products. So the first one is an internal recusal / disclosure policy that we can adapt to the bylaws. The second is a recusal disclosure matrix. So you'll be able to see exactly what relationships trigger either a recusal or at least a disclosure.
And
Then,
let me stop you there. On
Yep.
the matrix, we tried to make it more definitive than what we have now, so that, for example, if you have a familiar relationship and here's who is part of that, your spouse, your domestic partner, it's pretty concrete and clear that, you know, I have that, this is who the person is, it's my son, it's my brother, and you can look at the matrix and go, yes, it's a mandatory recusal. Okay, so take over from here, Aaron.
well, I mean, I can show the draft if you like, or we can just go over it. Yeah, let me pull that up really quick. The third thing that I created was a recusal form. It's a Go form, you know, that allows early in the process to disclose, you know, their relationship to whatever the case is. Give me 1 second.
really saying that at the last meeting, Commissioner Harvey came up to me and said that he realized that he was wrong and that he should recuse himself on the case that involved his son. But in the discussion of that, a lot of other what ifs came up, and that's why we're doing this workshop.
Yeah, and that's one of the things I wanted to address too in this policy is what happens when we do agree that there's a recusal necessary. So to give you a lever to actually force a recusal through a vote.
That's good too, because we don't have it in our current policy.
Correct.
And so as chair, my only option was to simply not consider that case because we didn't have a way of requiring somebody to recuse.
So is this going to be a policy, or are you also building this into the bylaws?
The thought was just to build it into the bylaws because there's already an existing policy. It just needed a little bit
Okay.
of tweak.
Oh, there's a matrix.
Fix
And-
here.
Can we send this out with the agenda?
Yeah, the goal is to have something Friday to be.
Okay, and we don't need to go over the detail now unless we'll have questions, but this looks wonderful to me. I can't read everything, but from what I
Yeah,
can read.
so you'll see, like we were saying, okay, immediate family is pretty easy for mandatory recusal, but what about extended family? Aunt, uncle, cousin, nephew? In this matrix, at least, there's still mandatory recusal if it's an in-law or your nephew. Maybe that's something the commission wants to tweak a little bit, but at least you'd have an idea of, gee, is my mother-in-law involved? Do I have to recuse myself? So it was meant to be more definitive, really.
Just in terms of the header, because of course, right now, all we're doing is IA investigations, but I think it should be investigations,
You're right.
just so we don't have to change it later.
Yeah.
Good point.
Okay.
You scroll down a little bit. Yeah, just so we can see some of the,
So you'll see, here's a good one too, for example, the physical proximity to or witnessing an event. If you're just present at the scene, during it or whatever, you're not really a witness or a part of this, that you would have to disclose it, but it wouldn't be a mandatory recusal. So just trying to make it more clear as
I
to
like it.
what you do and what you don't
Well,
do.
and the social media ones are giving that up there too.
you know, like,
But we're not discussing that, right? Saving it for the
Yeah, so, and that was, the purpose was to present it, to get some feedback, and then we can use that feedback. to-
But you're presenting it our July 2nd meeting?
Right.
Correct.
And, I don't try to do it,
Oh, and then, yeah, the disclosure, when you do need to disclose something, Aaron has come up with an easy kind of online form that the commissioners can do that pretty quickly and
do we
easily.
want to vote next week, or do you want to present it and vote at a subsequent meeting?
I think there'll be probably a lot of discussion about it, so I think maybe we should discuss it.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, was that we would present it, and if there is discussion and revisions, then we can
Bring it back.
put it back, so we can put it on the agenda for discussion, and then Ada can agendize it at a subsequent meeting
For
for.
future, sorry. I don't mean to cut you off. I do that a lot. For future, this is more like a training, informational item for the commissioners. Why do we have to take up the public's meeting to do that? Like, is there any other way?
No,
Because of the Brown Act.
yeah.
I mean, we could do a special meeting, or we could do it.
What if we have training teams?
Yeah.
Oh, no, more food.
Uh-oh.
Oh, what? That's just your dinner, right?
I'll
Busy
bring
dinner.
some tomorrow.
And it can be done at a, we can do training things at, if we're having like a commission retreat where you're doing several different things. And so but it has to be done in an open session, Brown Act type of thing.
I have another idea. You can record yourself giving a training and then send it to everybody and require that they sign that they do.
well, that transitioned into the next informational item.
So, anyway, yeah, so the next informational item is the onboarding, and I put it there simply because We're gonna have to begin the onboarding after next week, because we're gonna have new commissioners. I know that Darlene wants to work with you on that, but we want to get it going, and that's why I put it on the agenda to talk about what our next steps are.
Yeah, so they'll be sworn in on July 1. As I understand that they don't start the background check until after that. And I understand also that background check and kind of a transfer over to HR isn't done by the council president's office, it's done by the mayor's office. So they'll, once they're sworn in, they get the name, the mayor's office will then send it over to HR. HR will then contact them and say, you have to do a background check, you have to come in and have your fingerprints and that type of stuff. So we're figuring that's going to take at least 2 weeks, maybe even 3 weeks to get that done. Once that's all finished, and we would bring them into the office, Alina has kind of onboarding a notebook that she'll have that she can do some of the things that need to be done in the onboarding training academy that's set up through the training committee. So those things include things like, getting the laptop, how to use it, getting your photo done, your bio, all those types of things. So that would be done by staff. Hopefully, within the week after they're cleared by the background check and get that going. So I don't think really there's realistically any way to have them be onboarded any sooner than the earliest meeting I think they could really participate in would be the first August meeting, August 6th. And I actually think that's relatively quick too. So if we're able to do that, that will be great. But it may be.
And if we can arrange to have somebody from the clerk's office to be at the August 6th meeting to swear them in, so they don't have to go down individually.
They're already going to be there on July 1. So they'll be sworn in on July 1.
I thought they couldn't be sworn in until they passed the background check.
The clerk's office said, no, we'll be there.
Okay, well, that's fine.
Yeah, so,
That's not how we were done, but
It
okay.
doesn't make sense.
yeah, well,
Yeah,
that's.
whatever.
Okay, then you can ask them to come, and then those who can't make it, then have to go down individually to the clerk's office and.
Correct, and actually the clerk's office has already invited all of them, or I think, no, it must have been council president's office, has invited all the new candidates to be there. So they'll be there, we'll have the clerk's office there, take them in a side room. At that point, I can give them kind of the welcoming letter from the executive director and the chair for those that are there, and kind of outline for them the process to come in and make an appointment. And then the training academy for the onboarding of the commissioners has basically about 14 modules or things that they have to be trained on. And some of those Jaime is working on with success factors and HR to be able to do kind of the city things like the sexual harassment training and that type of training. They'll actually be in success factors so they can do that on their own. And we're trying to get them to do that within the first 90 days after they're sworn in. And then there's about 9 other modules of training that are things like Brown Act, just the background on the CPP, parliamentary procedures that would be part of the training academy's proposed training. And my proposal would be to have it done in a single retreat. Most of them can all be done by staff. We're proposing through Jaime that we videotape all of those so that in the future, we don't have to keep redoing this. And we're hoping to have that done and all of those trainings completed either in 1 retreat or 2 retreats by fall. The other thing that we're doing is setting up a system like Success Factors and through Success Factors where it tracks who completes what and when. And so that'll all be, right now we have a matrix that someone physically has been putting in. This will all now be done through Success Factors and sent reminders and those types of things that we can keep on top of people to get it done. So that's kind of what we're moving forward to do.
That sounds good. Any questions?
Yes. I never had that kind of training. I'd like to do it.
Well,
I don't think Mr. Robinson, any of us really have the full panoply of training.
I agree. So if I went back and looked at the existing matrix, and I think very few of the commissioners have had even the onboarding training.
I've had nothing, but I mean, that's because we're infants, you know, starting up. I don't know what the club had before, but
Blurb
It doesn't matter.
CRB.
So
Yeah,
I
I
think that would be great. That's why I was saying maybe the idea is,
The CRB kind of had our own, like academy, so we had like, different modules and different dates and different presentations. Some of them were on weekends, some of them.
what happened to those documents? Because like that, we don't have to start from scratch.
Well, we have, and we have our curriculum is already done, the training committee is already done.
Oh, okay.
And so we just have to implement it. And I like the idea of trying to do them together. So we'd like to do it on a Saturday or whatever day it is. Just trying to arrange people's schedules can be a challenge.
yeah, so, yeah, I think that's good. That's why I think we do a retreat, open it up to everybody, make it kind of mandatory for those onboarding and.
And I would say that we probably ought to make sure that they do the Brown Act one prior to being seated.
Okay, that's a good idea.
Commissioner Flores joined and he has his hand raised. I don't know how you want to.
Yeah, why don't we go ahead and call him since he's here?
Armando, you can go ahead and start speaking when you're ready.
Hey everyone, sorry I can't be there. I was just gonna add in that I spoke with Cheetah Warren Darby. She's the director of appointments for the mayor. She has a onboarding manual for parliamentary procedure that she was gonna share with us, and she wanted to. She's running it by the city attorney still, but she wanted to let us know that that's something that she's been working on for a while and wanted to, at some point give to us to support us. But beyond that, I really appreciate everything you're doing, Bart. Thanks.
That's excellent, Armando.
Yeah.
And we have, by the way, in our binders, a handout, a really good handout on parliament procedure. I'm the author of it, but I use it all the time.
No wonder it's early.
Sorry, Doug.
That's okay. And actually, I just did a parliamentary, 2-hour parliamentary procedure training for a union last night. So anyway, we do have that, but I'd be interested to see what they have, so I haven't passed it our way, yes.
Just point of information, Brother Armando, her first name is pronounced Chida. I just wanted to do that since we're being recorded. I didn't want you to go down in the recording with a bad pronunciation of her name.
Thank you
Chida.
for that. The only reason I pronounce it that way is my aunt is she has the same exact spelling for her name, and hers is Cheetah. And that's why I didn't realize her name was pronounced that way. So I should probably apologize for saying that. Yep, thank you.
Okay, and then the next item of business, I put these here not because I want to have us take action on any of these today. I just want to identify which ones we want to take future action on, and if so, what our next step is. The first one was the police overtime. We got the article that was forwarded to us by Mr. Chatsky. I since learned, and I have the link here, that the city auditor's department did an extensive recommendations study of the overtime procedures, and they made 3 recommendations. The department accepted all of them, and their completion date is December 2025. And they addressed the same issues that were in that article. So my suggestion is that we maybe contact the auditor to see where they are in terms of the department's completion. And then after the department completes it, the commission can make a determination of whether we need to weigh in or whether we don't need to duplicate it if the auditor is already. And the auditor has done a really good job of reading the report, of researching it, and so forth. And so my suggestion, unless people disagree, is to find out the status of the auditor's recommendations, and if the commission decides to weigh in, they do so after that. The next one was the one that we postponed from our May meeting, which was what do you do when the person being investigated is chief or part of the chief's command staff or their immediate families or IA. And Ada did some initial research of several, I don't know, did you do it through NACO or the list of, you sent out an email, which I got a copy of, which included how other jurisdictions handle that.
Oh, I went to news and I looked at different states. I looked within California and I looked within the past year to see what other departments nationwide do. And I didn't confirm with any, like, I did it through the articles, like, hey, this is what's going on and this being investigated by a third party, or, you know, most were by third party, I would say, where I think some, it was brought up to the city council and they, I guess, vote on who does it. Like they get an independent investigator, but they pay for it. There's been others that other commissions or oversight have paid as well for an third-party investigator. Internal, I think there was maybe one, and it was like in Louisiana. And then another one that was common, which of course we know, is other law enforcement nearby.
Okay. So I think this is an issue we want to address. But, do you want to make some recommendations, not now, but do you want to make some recommendations beyond that? Do you want to refer to the policy committee to have them make recommendations? What's our next step?
For
making a recommendation to the department how this should be handled.
Yeah, I think it would be good if we did go to the policy committee and we could present them with your information. And I know we could have Aaron look into this some more too. He was looking into it. He'll probably have some more information that he could present to the policy committee.
yeah, it's definitely within policy committee because their policy lacks that information.
So
more work for mom.
Yeah, I know Monty has nothing on her plate, but okay. And so I think we have an agreement there that is something we're interested in pursuing. And
What is I'm telling you.
Okay. It goes with banana bread.
The one with bananas in it.
And this one is also something I think may get referred to the policy committee. And that's the issue we discussed at LinkedIn or in our last case review meeting, and that is when a person is shot, what the procedures are for administering first aid and how long it takes sometimes to begin that process. And there's been quite a bit of concern about that and the cases we had last week. It's been an issue that's been concerned for a long period of time. And general sense is that, and I looked through the policies, and I couldn't find a PD policy that was specific other than they're going to do it after it is safe to do so, but it doesn't really define safe. The department seems to believe that they can't do it until the weapon is out of their reach, even if they're totally incapacitated. And sometimes they rely on K9 to do that, but in other cases they simply have gone in as a group and moved the weapon and done it expeditiously. Anyway, I think that based on the discussion that it is an issue that is a concern to the commission, and I also think it would be a good thing for the policy committee to do. Is there a consensus on that?
Aye.
Okay.
We need some more folks on your policy committee. We got new commissioners.
Oh, I'm waiting for the new one.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. We're
Good
pretty
deal.
strong already, but I'm just waiting for some new additions.
And then the last one, I think maybe we can do without referring to the policy committee. I'd be willing to work on drafting something for this, but the issue is that if there is an officer involved shooting, the department doesn't review community complaints and as findings, as allegations, they develop findings too. They will accept information from the community as quote witnesses. But usually the first, well, anyway, but they, if say a family member makes a complaint that something wasn't done properly, they don't have like an allegation and a finding, and there is no finding letter that goes to the complainant. So I asked why that was, because it seemed to me if somebody makes a complaint, there ought to be an investigation of that complaint and a finding, and the finding letter sent to the complainant. And the reason that I received was that the department considers officer-involved shootings to be internal investigations. And their operations manual says that for internal investigations, once they've classified it as an internal investigation, they won't have any additional allegations to it. And it very specifically says that there's no finding letters sent to complainants. I wonder about that too. An internal investigation is one where the department becomes aware of it themselves and opens an investigation. And I'm not sure, even in that case, why if somebody complains they shouldn't have a finding letter. That may be a separate battle. But I think especially in terms of officer-involved shootings, I'm not sure that it's proper to classify it as internal, and because it's kind of like an automatic one. And B, I think that if people make complaints related to an officer-involved shooting, that there ought to be a investigation of that complaint and a finding. But do other people agree with that? Okay. Anybody disagree with that? Okay. I'd be willing to work on some language for a proposed memo to the chief for us to vote on. If that's okay. Okay. And so those are the issues that have come up. I wanted to make sure that we didn't drop the ball on. And the next one is in future presentations, and the department told us this morning they can do 1 and 2 there. I think it would be good to do one on the investigation. My thought is that it should be based on the operation manual. So it would be like a training on the operation manual, and we invite the department to ask questions. Invite somebody who handles discipline for the department to explain their matrix and their legal procedures. It's like a 35-page discipline manual. Many of you looked at that. That may not be as urgent, but I think we need to do it before we begin reviewing discipline. And then there was a public comment at our last meeting suggesting that we have somebody from Post do a presentation, and I saw some people shaking their heads. Are people interested in that?
Yes.
Okay. Anyway, so I just documented those so that the new administration can see that those are things they have to consider in the future.
I would just comment on the post training. It seemed that Commissioner Molmet had already kind of contacted Post, and they provided the opinion that since you're not law enforcement, that they don't train.
I think that the request was for them to talk about what they do. So it wasn't, and so they said that they do, part of their purpose is to train police officers. And they said since we're not law enforcement, they can't train us on things. But the suggestion was made during public comment. I'm forgetting his name. Anyway, the person who made the recommendation.
That'd be Dr. Fishman, for chance?
No.
Yusuf?
From the racial,
Yusuf?
yes, Yusuf Miller. Thank you. He suggested having Post come talk about what they do.
Post does.
Yeah, what Post does, and also in terms of decertifying police officers and so forth, and the processes with that.
Okay.
So that's what he was suggesting. Um, we are required by the implementation ordinance to do semi-annual community feedback roundtables, and it's kind of a not well defined, but we are required to do them semi-annually. I think some of our community forums we've done on things like pre-tech stops and vehicle stops would qualify as that. It talks about on policing issues and community trust and so forth. And so I think that we can make the argument that we've been doing that. I just wanted to put that out there so that we are doing that in the future.
When's the last time we did one of those? It's been a minute.
Long time.
It's been a while, yeah. And so I'm not sure whether that's something that
I mean, have we done it this year?
I don't think so. And maybe something that the community outreach committee could work on. On it. And we also, by the way, are supposed to have some mechanism so the community can give feedback to the commission, and that feedback is made public. And so maybe we can have something in our website where people can make recommendations, and those are communicated. And then the last item that I had under new business was.
But before you move on to the amendment, are we going to talk about a mechanism for making that actually happen, or I mean, it's a great idea? So something should be on the website, or there should be a way for it. But how does that come about?
A good point. I would also refer that to the community outreach committee if they're willing to.
Yeah,
Maybe the
and
executive director.
I'll chat with Yasmin this week about this, and then ask her to get in touch with the outreach committee to make sure those somehow get implemented.
Okay, good. Thanks.
Oh, looks like I'm on the hand is raised again.
Yeah. Hey guys, I was actually talking with Yasmin about this over the past couple weeks. We've been working with the IT department to understand what our limitations are with changing the website, how to go about that process, and really, what pages we can add, how to create our own calendars on different, like, what best practices are there from all the other city websites, and how we can incorporate some of those into our process. But yeah, I just wanted to share that's something that Yasmin's actively working on, and if there's something that you guys need specifically, usually, I mean, it's more than likely possible. So
Yeah, good. And Armando's on the outreach committee, so you can provide additional feedback there. And the final item of new business, which we put as an action item, is that we voted to, I think in January, January meeting, February meeting, was to, January meeting.
January. 6 months.
To do the new method of doing case review, where it is, where the initial report is, investigation report is done by staff with opportunity for input with commissioners. And we're at the end of that 6 months, and so we need to have a motion by the commission to either go back to the old way of doing it, or to continue the pilot project, or to continue the pilot project with changes. So we need to have some action to do that.
It would seem that in the absence of an affirmative to continue the process, it would automatically revert to the old process.
I probably say so, but I mean, I think the motion was to come back and make it. The intent was to make a decision after 6 months, and so we need to put it on the agenda for the commission. And I don't know if we want to give them a recommendation from the executive committee, or just put it on the. Yes.
I would suggest the executive committee recommend that we give it at least 2 more months, because we're about to get a bunch of new commissioners who haven't done any reviews at all. And now we're going to come in and say, hey, we should do this particular process, or hey, we should change the process, and they haven't got a clue what's involved. Some of them may have some understanding already, but most of them are not going to have a clue what's going on. And we're asking them at this next meeting to vote on something they have no information on whatsoever.
Well, we were discussing earlier that the new people aren't at the earliest going to be on board until the beginning of August. So I would suggest it be like through the end of September.
Yeah, I agree.
That we continue with what we're doing until the end of September, and part of this will have to be the involvement of new commissioners and training opportunities for them to work with our staff and ask questions and understand all of the things that we've slowly been learning ourselves.
Yeah, I think what we need to do is much more earlier than that, much sooner than that. And what we need to do is have some sort of get together when we talk about the merits of each system and what sort of hybrid we can make it's gonna work better. So we need to have a discussion of where we're going, you know, because I think, I don't know what everybody else thinks, but I think we need to merge both the old way and this temporary way with improvements. So we need to have a discussion of that, and then we need to do it soon.
How would you go about,
Was that with it?
what are you proposing?
July 6th.
Yeah, so July, the next meeting will be in 6 months.
I would look at what worked the original way, what works the new way, and what doesn't work, and how we can merge the systems and make them better. I think having the investigators write up the reports is just fine, but we need to have commissioners hands-on, looking at videos, looking at procedures, looking at policies. And so it's more of a combined thing instead of the investigators doing everything. We just go, yeah, that's good.
And as I mentioned last time,
I don't think that's the case with the commission though, because we spend lengthy time discussing, and there's a lot of
yes,
disagreements.
and no,
not the same.
it does. You know, if you look at the,
Oh, okay.
if you look at the reports of the review, there's a very small number of commissioners who have actually been doing the review of the cases. There's only like 3 or 4.
We may want to clear that up because I'm one of the ones that I will review certain things and not put my name on there. I tend to do that quite a bit.
Okay, but that gives the impression that you have reviewed it. And so,
Right.
And the system was gonna be that, if you reviewed it, and you had no objections, you would send it back to the investigator, your name would be added, and name would not be added unless you did that. That was the previous concern, people think where names were added.
I don't look at their report. I look at the evidence and I look at the IA's report. So because I don't look at their report, I forget to write my name on it because I don't want to be swayed either way. I want to view it and I want to see what I think, and then at the meetings, or that's when I want to see, you know, what I work on.
Okay, but are you assigned to a review group?
No.
Okay, then that's a separate thing.
That's a separate thing, so you're not getting emails prompting you, look at this case.
No, I
emails
go
from them,
home.
Just go.
Oh, yeah,
look.
so
Okay.
yeah, all commissioners should be doing it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Before the meetings.
Yeah, but there are.
But weeks earlier, the people on review
Right.
teams are getting prompted to look at certain cases that have been assigned to your review team with the report not being turned into a PDF yet, so you can actually put your name at the bottom.
And make changes.
And make changes, and make suggestions, or attend office
and-
hours, or.
And for the commissioners that are doing that, I think it works, but there's a lot of commissioners who are assigned to review teams whose names I never see on reports, so I'm not sure what that means. And that's kind of why I brought it up at previous meetings. And why
Has
we-
it been addressed with them individually?
Well, we did, they made the 2 changes we've made as a result of discussions here are that they have office hours and they, well, agreed that they could set up team meetings, and if there's not a need for a team meeting, that they could cancel the meeting. That is a concern that there was. We've kind of tried to address it, but we still don't have a lot of, maybe the new commissioners will help push this along. But the idea was that it would be investigator-led, but there would still be the eyes of the commissioners looking at it before the report is finalized for the commission to vote on.
So I think the question we're pursuing here is, does this executive committee want to make a recommendation at the next meeting, or do we just want to put it on the agenda for discussion at the next meeting?
But we have to take some action at the next meeting. The action can be to refer it back to the executive committee for us to come back with a recommendation at our August meeting, or we can maybe do what you were suggesting. You were suggesting that we do it to allow the new commissioner to be involved in the process and then do it. So continue it for 3 months. Alec was suggesting that we need to make some immediate refinements, and Alec, how would you suggest doing that?
Create an ad hoc committee
Okay.
some volunteers who have experienced those systems to put together a proposal for a better way to go, combining the old and the new.
And reporting back,
Because you suggested tweaks along the way that have been implemented. So I'm curious, like, what beyond the changes that we've made in the last few months to allow more opportunities for commissioner contact with the staff and to have these, what else is there that you're thinking about? I don't know.
Well, Chair-elect Rodriguez's comments that she's sort of freelancing, she's studying, she's not part of the group. We would put everybody in a group who's willing
I don't
to do
want to
case
be in the
review.
group.
you have chair.
You
Because
won't
they-
be here because you're chair, but the rest of the commissioners should be in groups where we have we have Zoom meetings scheduled, we talk, if necessary. We review the materials, we get together and talk, because that is so educational. I think you agree. That's where we learn what the procedures are, what the policies are, how they work, how they don't work. That's crucial for all commissioners to do that. So that one of our takes would be, we have definite groups, we have Zoom meetings or whatever to discuss the cases when necessary. And then when we get to the regular meeting, if Commissioner Robinson, Commissioner Benitez are in a group and they believe it and they say we should do this, I'm not gonna have to worry about it. I'm gonna, yeah, let's do that. But the other factor that we're dealing with now is we're also short-handed now. Like I'm on 4 or 5 days, you're on multiple days. We wouldn't have time to invest. So that kind of affects how
Yeah,
we're
we're gonna have new
use
commissioners,
now.
which will help maybe take care of
That
it.
should reduce that, so maybe we will have a little more time with individuals working on cases.
I was gonna mention, initially, I was part of the case reviews, how it was set up with Zoom. But now with all of these committees, my problem is bandwidth, which is like finding the time
Right.
to fit it in that doesn't like with another committee or with a personal meeting or whatever the case is.
Focus.
Obviously, the folks in this room are burdened, burdened is the best word, but have multiple responsibilities with respect to the position, all of which are time consuming to some extent, and not to a great extent. So my first question is, and I have a recommendation. My question is, are all the commissioners, I'll put it this way, are all the commissioners pulling their weight on case reviews?
No.
And so I would recommend that there be some form of accountability for that. We are put on this commission to represent these communities. And if we're not, and I 100% agree with what Alan just said about learning how this process actually works, so you can do a review, that we can then go in and sit down with the chief of police and say, we know you're not doing it right. You're not even following your own procedure. But if you're not engaged to the extent that we originally were, maybe not on as many cases as it used to be, but just reviewing what the staff has done is good, but not good enough. So I know that these are all closed session issues, but is there a way to keep track of and produce for the public folks who are actually doing reviews and how often they're actually doing these reviews?
Well, let me suggest this. Since our 6 months is up, we put it on the agenda as we should for our next meeting. And that somebody make a motion to refer it to an ad hoc committee for refinements. And the chair can appoint the members of the ad hoc committee, and they can consider some of the ideas. What was that? And that allocate to those commissioners may be interested in doing that. And then come up with a date, either the August meeting or September meeting, whatever is reasonable for the commission to hear the results of the ad hoc committee and vote on it. Does that sound reasonable? Yes. Go ahead, Bonnie.
I would value investigator input on that committee.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Because I think that as they're hearing the feedback, they may be thinking of ways that things can be improved, for commissioner learning, et cetera. So I just want to make sure that would be a feature of that. And part two is the thing that I miss in our closed session meetings would be, how we would kind of carve out that 90 seconds of the most important video that we would all sit and look at together, right? I miss that because I might not have the time to sift through the 7 videos and find the right one. I'm reading the reports. I'm usually looking at the IA report and I look at some video, but
Right.
sometimes I'm like still searching through. And I know that they identify it in the staff does in their reports, but I think
I agree.
I do think though that the staff is well equipped to identify, hone in on the things that we can collectively look at that are really problematic,
Mhm.
that we could all be looking at together.
I think it's a good idea.
session.
I think that's definitely good. And also, we all kind of got on here, you guys came, and then we came on later. We weren't offered any of that. We had no idea what we
None of
were
us
getting
know
ourselves
what you missed,
into.
that's
So
all.
to call us out on something that we had no idea. So I would just say, instead of like shaming about who's not doing what, it would be better to simply put everyone in, because this is our job as commissioners, is to review these cases. So to just spread it out among us, however we want to do it, if it's just part-time, or some, however many you want to do, whatever, but I just think it needs to be offered to the entire commission.
So lay out the expectations for the.
Yes.
It used to be that all, in the interim CPP and the CRB, it was a requirement that everybody do case review. And then we made it optional, and not everybody did it, and then.
I thought I saw it in the, what are we, bylaws or whatever,
Not required
that,
by it, you're not required to do case review. You're not required to be on a case review.
oh, it's
You're
just.
required to be on a
part of the
committee, and,
Well, everyone's part of the case reviews if they're assigned by the chair.
and it's not by the chair, yes, and then but even,
Everybody.
yeah, but even that isn't it, but some people are still on case review groups, but not everybody on the case review group is actually doing that, and so those are part of the issues. And so,
I think a lot will be fixed once we have, the 25, because it's
Yeah.
just not enough of us.
right, no, but I do think we need to refine the system before we give them that.
Absolutely, yeah.
And so I would recommend we come back with something in our August meeting, they can start with something we have done there, and, yes.
I'm not talking about shaming, but as a commission that was constructed by the community, there needs to be accountability to the community. At this point, everything that we're doing with case reviews is in closed session. So the community sees nothing except some final outcome. They have no idea what their commissioners who they asked to be on this commission are actually doing or not doing. So I think there should be some way for the community to know whether or not folks who are on the commission are actually functioning as commissioners, or if they're just holding a seat.
Well, I just think it's closed session for a reason, and I think we're getting beat up. We have no idea half the time with the community. So to now put it specifically on a commissioner, so the community can go after that commissioner for doing their job or not
No,
doing
that's
their
not what I'm
job.
saying at all. If we have 25 commissioners and we go through a whole year of case reviews, and we find out at the end of the year that we have a commissioner who's never done a case review, we're the only ones who know that, and we can't disclose that per se because everything we do is in closed session. So how does the community know if that person ever is doing the job they're hired for?
I mean,
But
we know, and we
do
can,
review, we are there during
That's
the
we.
commission time.
But we are the commission. What about the community?
Well, the committee can.
I don't think that's
Everyone.
This is all
Okay, yeah.
volunteer, and it's not even, if it was a bylaw that said it is mandatory, then we can do that.
Yeah,
But if it's not mandatory, that is
It's
shaming.
not.
Anyway, I
And
want
it's
to come up
not,
with a
so
discussion.
shaming.
This is what the ad hoc committee can
Pardon
look
me.
at, yeah. And, but,
Well, that's what we're here for, discussing the.
and, so,
I would say,
I'll prepare a motion.
I've seen
Okay.
both. I've thought about this, and one thing I plan on implementing, once I start, is that every meeting, public meeting, I've asked the staff, and Alina was quick with it, to provide the results of our closed session meetings. But completely confidential meeting, we would say, we reviewed case number, like if there's 5, case number 1, and allegations was use of force and discrimination. And IA reported that it
you can't
was,
do that. Not allowed by FOBAR.
why?
Because it's prohibited, it's confidential.
You're not saying who,
No,
you're
you can't
not
do that.
saying,
That's why, well, we can't, well,
It's
we,
like telling.
that's why we're gonna be
Still.
doing the redacted case reports, where we
It's not in a million cases.
let the community know what we did without having anything be tied to a specific case with an officer and so forth.
okay, so how about we reviewed 5 cases, the IA exonerated 3 and sustained 2, and the CPP agreed with 3 of them and disagreed with 2 with comments, or,
That may be a little tricky since we have the specific case.
because
numbers.
you're not talking about what the allegations are. You're not giving case numbers. We're just saying, we reviewed 5 cases. There were 3 of them that were ABC and the other 2
Yeah,
were
but
this.
I think that once we, and I know the staff is already working on, it, once we have the redacted case summaries done, then we can present that to the public. We do that twice a year, where they get to see all the cases, and they get a one paragraph summary, and they'll see what our finding was without any officers' names, case numbers, dates, and so forth.
So if we could do that, we're probably giving an update every month.
Because we can't talk about specific cases.
Well, it wouldn't be specific. It would be exactly kind of like what you said. Case number is going to be redacted and there's going to be a paragraph.
But they could relate back to the agendas when we have the case numbers.
Why do we put case numbers?
Because we're required to, it's under the Brown Act, to let people know what we're doing.
Yeah, I think that, I think that Bart is trying to work with the staff on creating public-facing reports that take us up to the limit, but don't go beyond it, so
Got
that
it.
we're still safe.
Thanks for the
And-
knowledge.
And part of that is frequency, which creates a little bit of fuzziness, if that
I'm
makes
going to
sense.
need this help because I'm telling you, navigating the Brown Act has been difficult.
Well, and the thing about that is that we've already gone through the POA, and the POA has approved us being able to give redacted case summaries. And I think that once we begin doing that, that'll give a lot more transparency to the commission, which is why I've been pushing it, and why I'm glad that it's going to be approved soon.
It is. We're getting through all the cases and.
We're going to have that with our first half of the year report.
Yeah, we will have that. I think our goal was to get it by August, no later than September, and we will definitely meet that.
Okay, just going to move on to standing committee reports, and Bonnie wanted, there's an issue that the rules committee is going to be looking at, which will be a major change from our current process, and she wanted to get some initial feedback from the executive committee.
Yeah, so I want to credit Alec, as Alec really has kind of led the way, and we're really trying to streamline our bylaws, take things out that are repetitive from the ordinance and just refer to the ordinance. But also we're making some structural changes, and my mind has been sort of evolving, especially since we've kind of had an up and running and larger executive committee. So as you all know, there were some issues in 2024 within the commission that in part had to do with the size of the cabinet and the personalities of the cabinet members. And so it's hard to say that a 3-person cabinet in and of itself is a bad idea, right? But it's a lot of responsibility, and at least before we had an up and running executive committee, sorry, I'm looking at you because you were the only one that was part of it. I still like to blame him for everything because he's the only one still around. So anyway, when it comes to decision making, the ideal number of people in a group to easily work together, have enough input, make a decision is 5. Okay, and so, but our current structure is that we have a 3-person cabinet that is elected, and then we have a 8-ish person executive committee.
Why do we have to have a cabinet?
Right. So that leads us to the direction we were heading in. And I genuinely want your input because I've really been thinking about what the best thing is over time for the commission, less so thinking about the people sitting in this room. Okay. So the direction we were heading in was an elected executive committee of 5 people. We would not have a cabinet, and we would not have an executive committee made up of standing committee chairs. Okay, so well, go ahead. What were you gonna say?
Well, I rewrote the bylaws to make it 5 person. She's been thinking a lot about this, and so number 5 is not necessarily the number, right? So you're gonna
Yeah,
have-
no, five really, if we don't think about the people in the room and we don't think about a lot of other things that we've been working on over the last 6 months, 5 really is a great number. And 5 people who are actually elected by the entire body is an egalitarian, process, as opposed to people who are like appointed or asked.
Because you are in this role,
Correct, right? As opposed to having the 3 people, right? And the chair basically saying, would you chair this committee, and you would chair this committee? And so really what that means is, and I'm not faulting the structure, I think we're all coming together very well, and I'm so happy with how we're all working together. That's right, we're norming, right? We're forming, we haven't been storming for a minute. And we may, again, keep in mind, we're bringing on a whole new crop of people, and I'm anticipating that, right? We're gonna go through a thing. And so the thing is that our current structure is we have 3 people elected, but 5 people, which is the weight of the executive committee, are not elected by the body. They're appointed. And so, and flip side, when we're all in this room and there's 8 of us, we all bring so much to this table because we're working on, your heads in policy and your heads everywhere. And, and you know what I mean? And I'm thinking about the bylaws, and we all have like really different strengths. Like I've been thinking about the 3 of us, and we have very different strengths, and I think we'll complement each other. So because the next thing that we're going to be working on, the next phase of the bylaws change is this structure. And so before we, as a committee, just go off and come back to the whole commission revamping our leadership structure, I wanted to talk with you all about it because I'm frankly torn. Because I do like I know for sure in science and research, 5 is such a magical number for decision making. And what I went to Bart about actually, and I know that I kind of gave you maybe an impossible question. What I was thinking was, okay, well, what if we had an executive committee that is 5 people who are elected by the body, and that executive committee meets every month, for example, and they vote on this body. But there's always opportunities for standing committee chairs to attend executive committees meetings when they can, or maybe quarterly or something like that. I'm also mindful that because this is a standing committee, that it's yet another committee that we have to follow the Brown Act and be in person, and I'm mindful of us as volunteers as well. And so if our standing committees are standing committees and they have to follow the Brown Act, it's a lot for us. Like right now, as you probably know, right, I'm on the Rules Committee, right? So I have every Wednesday, most months, it's like commission meeting, I don't even know the order anymore, commission meeting, Rules Committee, commission meeting, executive committee, and that's a lot to ask. And so I'm thinking about how can we create a structure that accomplishes as many goals as possible, is as flexible as possible within the law. And so I just wanted to open this discussion with you all about this.
Question. So the reason I'm like, I don't understand why we have a cabinet is because it won't be breaking Brown's Act if you and I and you have a conversation, would it? That's our number 3.
Well, it's more complicated than that because we have standing committees. And so you can't have a quorum of any standing committee, executive committee, any standing committee or the full commission. You can't have a quorum of any of those together at one time.
Or the cabinet.
And what's a quorum?
So if you have.
The quorum is the majority,
Majority.
plus 50%.
Right, so
But the
50%
cabinet is not a standing committee.
the cabinet is not a standing
Right.
committee, but that's questionable because the cabinet operates as or did, at least in 2023 and 2024, as the sort of preeminent leadership body of the commission. And it didn't call itself a standing committee, but really? And I know that there were some questions that were raised by, Dwayne and by Paul about, how things were pre-2025. And at some point you all stopped meeting. But anyway.
For example, right now, so the cabinet is not a standing committee, but this is.
Yeah,
Correct.
So
And
if
the
we were to
cabinet-
have a conversation, we would be breaking Brown's Act?
No,
No.
No.
because there's 8 members here, we're only 3.
Three. You're only
So
3.
we're a minority, we're not,
So
we're
much
not.
technical.
No, but-
That's
but
a-
usually
three's a magic
the only
number.
time under the bylaws now, and, because, previously the cabinet was kind of acting like the executive committee because they didn't have an executive. committee.
Yes, right.
And, I think under the bylaws, all they are responsible for now is dealing with, commissioner, discipline or whatever there was. So for example, when we had somebody that had not attended a meeting in 5 months, they had to go through the cabinet. But beyond that, there isn't any cabinet meetings. But the cabinet does participate in certain things. For example, it's the cabinet who meets with the chief of police. It's the cabinet who meets with the IA.
And it would be the executive if it changes.
Right.
Well, and this is,
Right.
right.
Yeah,
The plan that we were, the path we were moving down is that we were doing away with the cabinet completely, creating a 5-member elected executive committee. And then we would have to talk about those roles and see if, beyond what the cabinet is doing, but.
Can I propose we bring it up in the next meeting to commissioners so that we can vote on it?
Well,
I think the idea was
Yeah.
have the rules
Let's
committee
sit
come to
down on that
them,
one.
but we wanted to get some broader
Because I
feedback.
like it.
we're drafting bylaws now, and once we get them all done, then we're gonna, of course, present them and discuss at that time.
Correct.
But
Okay.
she's
and if-
canvassing for your opinion now.
Correct. In my opinion, what will happen is, because the bylaws are so significant to the operations of the organization, that the bylaws will come to the executive committee for its review and approval first, and then go to the full commission. So, but given that we're at that point in the bylaws, I wanted to take your temperature because basically, if we were to move on with what we were thinking we were doing, the executive committee, as we now know it, which is an 8-person executive committee, would turn into a 5-person executive committee, which would mean we would do elections, and those 5 people would be elected. And so what I went to Bart about was, is there a way, because the input of standing committee chairs is valuable, right? And so is there a way that they can participate? And I think basically the answer is no, if you want them to have a vote. They
Yeah,
can sit in on
and the other thing is, with the Brown Act, we're always thinking about what quorum, is there gonna be a quorum? But
Sure.
the fact of the matter is, you can have less than a quorum
Mhm.
and still be a standing committee if you have regular meetings and there's no,
Right.
an ad hoc committee is for like a single procedure
It's a task force,
and a
basically.
time limited thing. Whereas the executive committee, 5-member committee that you're saying, it's not gonna be a quorum for sure, but it's not an ad hoc committee, so.
Yeah.
So it's gonna have to be
It's gonna have to
Brown
be
Act.
Yes. The executive committee is a standing committee, and it should be listed with the other standing committees.
Yeah,
It is.
okay.
Yeah,
would
yeah,
accept
no,
that.
no, no.
You would need to have a chair, obviously, and you need to have a vice chair. Because you need to have somebody step in when the chair is not available, or.
You need to have a
That's,
chair
wait,
where.
this is the bylaws discussion.
It's a bylaws
Yeah,
discussion.
yeah, but they'd be a part of the, so the chair would be, and the chair and the vice chair would be part of the 5-person executive committee.
Correct. Yes.
Can you just explain
people have-
exactly what's happening now? So you have a separate cabinet than this, you have an executive.
We wouldn't have a cabinet at all. Right now, as
So what's right now?
July 1st.
Honestly, we don't have a cabinet.
Well, we
They
do.
do.
No,
They do.
on paper,
Explain-
but
On paper we do, but the
We
cabinet
don't-
is not
okay.
met in a year.
Yeah.
Say that again.
The cabinet doesn't make it.
Right now,
Yes.
right, today, chair, first vice chair, second vice chair.
Right.
They are the cabinet, they meet with the chief,
Right,
they meet with internal affairs, right?
right.
And they run the meetings, and if
So-
there's an internal problem within the commission, then they're
Right.
going
And
to
there's
deal with it.
specific
Okay,
responsibilities for
so-
the ordinance and the bylaws.
Specific responsibilities.
Right, okay,
Yes.
so.
So
but you're-
the new
so the
thing
new-
would be,
thank you.
Instead of
Okay.
having 3 people elected by the commission,
Mhm.
you would have 5.
So, okay, hold on.
Yep.
So let's say we have these 3, or
Yeah.
actually you 3.
Yeah, let's
Okay.
assume that they keep the 3 of us and add 2 more.
We want to appoint, or excuse me,
Elect.
we want to elect.
Yep.
2 more. Like
Correct.
the commissioners want to say, okay, we
Correct.
want to add these 2 people. I think
Correct.
that's enough. But keeping the cabinet, because how can the chair, the vice chair, not keeping the cabinet, but are you saying that the chair, the vice chair,
you mean keeping the
And
leadership?
the
as
leadership to go and
executive?
speak with, because what you're saying is the leadership over the commission
Mhm.
will no longer
It's gonna go
have
from 3 to
meet.
5.
Okay, but, okay, so this Okay, so it's the same
But-
with
but-
two, what's the but?
But our current executive committee is 3 elected people and 5 committee chairs. That would not be the executive
Right.
committee anymore.
No.
It would be 5 elected people. But my thinking is, and maybe we don't have to put this in writing in the bylaws, because if it's a non-voting thing, it might not matter. Because the input of committee chairs, standing committee chairs, is valuable to the work of the executive committee, what I would want is to have a standing invitation, an open invitation for any standing committee chair to always attend executive committees meetings, but they're not gonna have a vote. But they would be a part of the discussion.
You can't do that though.
Right, now that brings up a challenge. If we were to do that right now, then we would be a quorum of the, we
Entire
would not be the executive committee, only to be 5. But you add the 3 to make 8, since we only have 15, that's the majority of the commission itself. So now we have to do the whole Brown Act thing for the whole commission for this meeting.
For 8 people.
Well,
Yeah, because
technically,
there's only
our
15
committee
members.
is.
Well, no, if the executive committee is meeting, it's a Brown Act meeting anyway.
But now you're not just the executive.
You're
committee.
also-
They're
You're
the
a
commission.
quorum of the full
Exactly.
commission
Yep.
that's meeting.
Okay,
Oh,
So then you'd have to
That's
notice it as a
Yeah,
full
notice
commission.
it, and then, oh,
Correct.
come on.
You can
Right.
do it.
you can do it. And,
Just
and frankly, we're only in that position right now because of our size. And we would only be in that position if it just so happened that all of the standing committee chairs wanted to come to the same meeting because they all had the same issue, right? I'm thinking like, for example, Alec as the community outreach chair, the executive committee is doing its thing, and then, in August, he comes to Abe and he's like, there's something really important going on with community outreach. I really like the attention of the executive committee, and he would come to that meeting. He wouldn't be there all the
So-
time. Does that make sense?
no, we're kind of halfway there because I like that Doug implemented that each standing committee is to give a full report.
Yeah.
And then prior to the executive meeting,
Yep.
whoever that is, we can request.
Yep, we can do that.
Yeah.
They just wouldn't have a vote because they're not technically a member of the executive.
Right, just
We're re-
request updates,
Yeah, yeah.
concerns, things that they would want us to know.
Right. And I'm also trying to make it so that the people who are standing committee chairs, not electeds, okay, don't have 2 additional meetings every month that they
Right.
have to attend in person. They only have 1. So I'm thinking of all these things.
So
I like
it would seem prudent. Okay, so my first question is, how we determine the 5 people? Because it sounds like we have to elect, and let's just change the bylaws.
Yeah.
We have to elect 3 people.
Yeah,
At the
you're gonna
last
elect
meeting.
5.
Right.
Yep.
Well, we have to elect a chair, a first vice chair, and a second
Yeah.
vice chair, and then
Yep.
just elect 2 more people.
Correct,
At large.
correct.
Okay, and it would seem prudent that those 2 people would not be committee chairs.
Well, but like right now,
Preferably would not be.
Unless
vice
they
chairs.
volunteer, I don't see why
Correct.
not.
Well, again, if the idea
But
that
but
committee
that's
chairs
the
already
idea.
have too much on
ideally
their
that is
plate.
correct. Like I've already been thinking, so I'm first vice chair now. I'm the chair of the rules committee,
Mhm.
right? So I want to hand that over.
Right.
Over that, like, I kind of want us to get over this bump because,
Mm-hmm.
we're guiding through, so I want to hand that off.
And that's the very reason why I rejected Doug's recommendation that I become chair of the Policy Procedures Committee. I'm like,
Sure.
dude,
I
that's
Can't
on
do
the
it till
plate.
it's too much.
Yeah.
Why don't we just have a couple more minutes? of-
Alex?
Yeah, sorry,
Go ahead.
I know this is a lot, but,
I was just gonna say that my idea is that we would have executive committee with a chair. And we wouldn't have first, second, and third vice chair because people are busy. Like, what if the first vice chair is on vacation and the chair is sick? Well, in my view, any of the 5 could jump in and be the chair for that meeting. where
there's a presumptive order though, if you.
Yeah, I guess you-
Mhm,
I think you need at least the vice chair.
Well, that's something we can discuss.
Yeah. Anyway, I didn't want to end up bringing this to the executive committee without first
People think
talking
about
about it, so.
It was important, I like it.
I
Yeah.
thought
Yeah.
you didn't want 5.
No,
Oh.
I know 5 is it's a sweet spot. It's also 5 in age. Those of you who have children, 5, man, they're little Buddhas at 5.
Okay, let's move on.
Ready
And
for a comment on that?
I think the rules committee meeting is meeting when, 2 weeks from now?
Yes,
Okay.
Correct.
And,
Rules committee.
anything for community outreach?
Our next meeting is July 17th at 6:30 PM. We will continue with the reviewing our website to try to bring it into the 20th century or 21st,
Yeah,
wherever we
let's
are.
go to the first.
And we did, at the last meeting, we did elect Armando as a chair of an ad hoc outreach budget committee, since he's doing all the work anyway. And then, we've had some outreach events that I can detail at the meeting.
Okay. The Training and Continuing Education Committee, Commissioner Momash is in Europe, I think.
Yeah.
Apparently she submitted a report, but we didn't get it attached to our minutes, but we can attach it to the agenda for next week's meeting. Policy Committee meeting, I know you're meeting tomorrow, right?
Yes, we're meeting tomorrow, and we are working on that nice little slip for any and everyone to make a recommendation or want to make a comment or something. We're gonna go through that paperwork of what that would look like for the entire commission. And then, of course, we're going over the retreat and most importantly, picking a date, which we kind of did already, but now we need to review because of the onboarding. We want to probably review, and then with school starting September, blah, 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 we might go a little further into October. Maybe we're trying to, first we said August, September, but now we're looking at maybe October. And I can't think of anything else, but I see Mr. Brevis is on the line. If he has anything to add, I feel like we did pretty good.
Got anything, Aaron?
Good.
Okay. So Armando's hand is raised open. That's because he is the recruitment committee chair and is going to give us an update on, I know he's been doing some research on this, and so take it away.
Yeah, short update. I have a meeting set for the 1st of July, and there's an agenda that's 99% complete that I'll send to Alina so she can send out to the rest of the commissioners. And that meeting is the same day as all the new commissioners are onboarding or are being voted in. So I felt it was a good date to get this committee up and running. But yeah, that's it for right now. I'll report back more after we meet.
Okay, and Armando, can you send the draft that you sent to me of your process to Ada so she's aware of that?
I'm gonna add it to a folder. I'm in the process of creating folders and subfolders in the committee drive.
Okay.
And I'll give you a link. I'll send you guys a link to that.
Okay.
Sweet, thank you.
And then ad hoc committee reports, actually for Elena texted me a question yesterday and said, is the operating committee still existing? And I think that we can end the committee because the committee's job was to prepare operating procedures for the city council. We've done that. And we have a negotiating committee, which is separate.
Okay.
And the negotiating committee is not a Brown Act committee because it meets privately to provide guidance to our general counsel and our general counsel and executive director, who right now is one person. And so we still have the negotiating committee to advise the staff on their negotiations, but the operating procedures was to develop the operating procedures, and they've been developed. And so I think we can say the committee is disbanded. The personnel committee.
Well, Doug, before, again, we're going to go into negotiations for meet and confer. There will be some adjustments that need to be made. Will those come to only be with the advisors, or will that come back to the entire commission, or should we keep our operating procedures committee for that?
Yeah, the way it's structured now, as I see it, is I'm kind of the liaison with the HR negotiating team. And if issues come up, then I go to the negotiating ad hoc committee and say, this is the issue.
Okay.
And they give me direction.
Okay. Okay, so it's okay to just dissolve the operating procedures, but keep the negotiating committee. And can you refresh and remember who all is on that committee? I know Alec is. Armando and Bonnie, is that?
And I want to say Chatsky.
No.
Yeah.
No, this is pre-chat.
I think that, I think Brandon was, but
Brandon was, but I could swear Chatsky was on this committe, but I could be wrong.
Oh, do you mind looking in the minutes? I think it would have been maybe one of the November meetings, and let me know. I'm the chair of the negotiating committee. And personnel committee, Darlan is absent, as you know, but does anybody else on the committee have an update in terms of when you're going to meet?
I have an update. So the first meeting is the 9th of July. That is a Brown Act meeting, apparently, and so there is going to be an agenda. I talked to Vicki Joes today. She's just completing that. And
Who's Vicky Jones?
she's chief of staff for Council President LaCava. And so her agenda goes through electing a chair, setting up a process, the recruitment process, who's going to do it, how are we going to get it done, all the way to the appointment process. And that will be generally discussed at the opening July 9th meeting. So there'll be once the July 9th meeting is done, there'll be a roadmap of here's how we're going to get to the end.
What's on July 9th?
The first meeting of the personnel committee
With
with
the two city councilors.
LaCava and Foster.
Yeah. LaCava and Foster,
The city
me,
council ad hoc
Clovis,
committee.
Darlan and John.
Can I get a list of the committees and who's on there, right? Trying to keep
Isn't it,
up.
isn't it
And how
already?
many-
Yeah, there is,
Yeah.
it's in the folder,
Sweet,
and we can send you a link.
sweet.
You'll see at the bottom, they'll have all the committees, names, you can just click on the tab and it pulls up who's on it.
Okay, and then the next item is, I just wanted to remind people that July is one of those meetings, one of those months where we have 5 Wednesdays. And so we're meeting on the 5th Wednesday, not the 4th Wednesday. We meet on the Wednesday before the meeting. And so our meeting will be on July the 30th, not July 23rd. The last,
For the
we meet on the
executive
last
committee.
Wednesday of the month, not the 4th Wednesday of the month.
And he's
Meeting on
referring to the
30th?
executive committee.
Meeting on the 30th.
I will not be here.
Good for you.
I had it down for the 23rd, but I will not be here.
So, anyway, is there a motion to adjourn?
I motion.
This is my last meeting to adjourn.
Do we have a?
Thank you, Doug.
And,
There is, right?
Yeah,
adjourned.
we have 2 actually.